Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and this is going to be about Moonbeast Studios' new game. It is some very known ARPG legends that have gotten together and made a studio. It's Phil Schenk, Eric Schaefer, Peter who they were like a big part of Diablo 2 and making the entire genre in ARPGs that we know and love today. With like making like Eric coming up with like the random system and repurposing an old D&D system for that, for affixes and items and stuff. Peter coming up with rune words and that system. They really cool people that have come together and made a studio. And I hadn't heard about it at all, and they just asked like, hey, do you want to test out the game? Like, not a sponsored thing, just do you want to check it out? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd absolutely love to check it out. So I tried it, and I was blown away because this is a pre-alpha. Now, for reference, most of the time, I have played a lot of pre-alphas. They're usually under heavy NDA, and they don't want it shown off because at this point, the game is always quite rough. There's a lot of bugs, textures are sometimes missing, and there's usually a lot of issues with pre-alpha, right? So this is roughly anywhere from a year to 2 before a game even enters early access. It's very early stages for a game. But they even said I could like show it up, so I streamed it a bunch. And then I talked to them and I got on a call with them and I was like, you guys have something really cool here. We did a podcast. I streamed it a few more hours before doing the podcast. And yeah, I just want to make a video about it because I think maybe a lot of people haven't heard about it yet. And I think this is going to be something to keep an eye out for. I want to get more involved here. This looks so fucking cool because the ARPG that they're working on is a lot of things are still undecided, but they sort of like the idea of going for like a Path of Exile meets Valheim kind of thing. So an ARPG with maybe city building or house building and that kind of stuff, which a lot of those ideas are super attractive to me. Like I'm very excited for that. Now there's one really cool thing I want to show you guys. And some of you might be familiar with StarCraft with like the Zerg goo expanding, etc. And that's a kind of cool mechanic. And Terraria, where you have like the hollow or corruption, etc. Like that spreads. This game actually has a bit of a similar mechanic. As you saw there on the map, the necropolis, that area is purple on the map. Well, that starts out as a little altar after you activate a quest, and then the necropolis is growing. It is building. Like the undead is taking over, and this is based on time. So if I left, like, let's say that I went AFK now and left my game running, eventually the entire world gets swallowed up by the necropolis. The higher level zone, there's skeletons, and I just thought this was such a mind-blowingly cool mechanic for an ARPG, and it's something we don't really see. There's so much potential with this. So yeah, I just wanted to show that off because so cool in my opinion. And Eric was saying as well, like, they might do stuff like maybe you don't want to fight the Lich, maybe you want to kill the Lich and become a new Lich, and now your goal is to spread the corruption over the entire world and see how big you can grow now your necropolis. Like there's so much cool stuff here, and like you can see it growing. Let's see, actually I might have to go back in time a little bit because I want to show you the actual like growing mechanic. This is so fucking cool in my opinion. See, I'm excited. Past me is excited. So this is like on like a timed thing, like sort of like expanding, growing outwards. And again, this is pre-alpha. This is not even early access. They said maybe like late next year. I think they said they might have something for like early access. But even that might be like a little optimistic. So for how early this is in game development, I was just blown away by so many of like the cool things they want to do. I did a podcast with them and we were talking about quality of life options, and Peter's answer to that was like, he said he couldn't think of a good reason to not give pretty much any quality of life thing as an option. Because I was talking about opacity slider, and he was like, there's no reason not to. Because especially with like the way they want the world to be, with like hundreds, potentially thousands of players in one world, it will get a lot, right? If you have 30 people playing together and stuff, like obviously that's going to be a lot of graphical gore, so to speak. So right now, very bare bones. This is more of a like keep a lookout on this. They have fairly interesting itemization already with you know, things like ignite, shock, freeze, chance, and things like that. And like items were, you know, like I noticed a big difference in the items I was getting. Oh, and like dot skills and stuff like that. So there were items that I was already getting excited about, even though it is quite primitive right now. Same with like skill tree and stuff, like all of that is quite primitive right now. But it felt very snappy. There is terraforming, so that feels really good in my opinion. With one of my moves, it leaves like a little crater when I teleport there. I think that's really cool. I talk about that a lot where as an example, like I really like a lot of what Grim Dawn does with like skill design and stuff like that. But I've always had a hard time getting into it because sort of a lack of impact. Last Epoch has some skills that has that and some skills that don't too. And when I say that, I mean like really nice crunchiness with sound, with feel. Like whenever a game makes me feel like you're going Super Saiyan and just like the world is breaking around you because you're so powerful, that's really cool in my opinion. So like Herald of Ice, explosions, occultist stuff, things melting away, like that's always really cool in my opinion. And with terraforming, there's so much potential for that here, right? Like you can see your projectiles destroying the world. Um, so there's a lot of that I'm looking forward to. And they've said that because of that, there's a lot of things they can do. Like obviously, if they're gonna have gathering and stuff in the game, you can have things like you can use spells and attacks to maybe do the gathering. I know Rune World Dragon Wells does that. And that was something we talked about on the podcast, and they said that was like a cool idea as well. So there's like so much potential here, and it's something we haven't really seen in an ARPG. I do feel most ARPGs are good at doing something like a little bit different. Um, but here we're seeing something that could just be incredibly different because we don't really have an ARPG that is very, very blasty and fun and like Path of Exile like, but also having like survival elements and like city building and stuff. There are other or other games that do a lot of cool stuff like that. Like V Rising has a lot of things like that, but it's not really an ARPG, right? The skills are the skills. They've added some ARPG elements lately with like with the things you can roll, but there is like a very obtainable best in slot or relative best in slot for a lot of those. And I wouldn't really classify V Rising as a survival ARPG, right? Not in the Path of Exile ARPG sense, whereas this has a very like a Path of Exile feel to it, or Diablo feel to it, with what I think will be really cool itemization. They've already got runes, which work both on like the witch. It's gonna be a witch only mechanic. The witch can tattoo the runes on her to empower herself. Other characters can use them probably potentially to make rune words. Is I think a natural transition there, obviously since Peter invented rune words. I can't remember if I asked directly if they are going to have straight up rune words, but you can already put them in items to buff items and make like craft items like that. And I've already gotten like to a relatively decent spot here with being strong and stuff. Right now I'm in a bit of a low level zone. Yeah, and I would recommend go look at the podcast. They talk a lot about what they've done in the past, what they did after Diablo 2, and like the vision they have for this game. It doesn't have a name yet. Well, it does, but it's secret. I don't even know it. So excited to find out what the name of the game is, but it is by Moonbeast Studios right now. So again, huge legends in the ARPG industry. I don't think they have Steam signups or anything. But at the podcast they did say when they were like doing their plug that they have like a mailing list. So I'll link that in the description down below. It's like moonbeastgame.com, and they'll send out like info letters with like early access signups or pre-early access signups, etc. Just figured a lot of you guys would be interested in seeing something like this, and hearing about it, so you can sort of have it on your radar. But either way, it's something I'm super looking forward to. If they pull off like a Valheim meets Path of Exile, I am going to be diving super deep into this. Yeah, hopefully, we'll see and hear more from them soon. But either way, let me know what you think of the video. So if you like it, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.